Consider this. Early retirement incentives have already been taken and layoffs are underway as Caterpillar Incorporated tries to reduce its workforce by some 5,000 in the year ahead and up to 10,000 by the year 2018. The uncertainty here in Central Illinois is palpable, but we hope to offer some solutions on how you might be able to cope. I'm Yvonne Greer, and my guest tonight is Dr. Joy Miller, psychotherapist and author of Joy Miller and Associates. Next on Consider This. Just about everybody knows somebody who works for Caterpillar Incorporated here in Central Illinois. But in light of the company's plans to cut its workforce by almost 10,000, as I said before, the uncertainty is palpable. How do we cope? Joy Miller is here to hopefully offer us some solutions. Welcome to Consider This, Joy.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
In things that I've read and in people that I've spoken with already, there is this sort of tension associated with waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because so far maybe 3,000 plus have had either early retirement incentives taken or have already been laid off. But for those who are still on the job, waiting and wondering, that uncertainty is really stressful.
It really is. And unfortunately, a lot of people are getting, should I say, caught in the anxiety because it's so prevalent. And I think for a lot of people, it's important to realize that you're losing today and that you may not know what's going to happen today, tomorrow, and none of us do. But you today can take control of your life. You can plan, just like with any circumstance. We don't know what's going to happen. And we need to just kind of stay in today and not get caught up, but to really look at, okay, if this does happen, what are some of the steps that I probably should be taking anyway? So for any of us that are 50, 55, 60, to maybe look at, okay, what do I need to do for my future? What do I need to do and what do I need to look forward to? And I think those are natural developmental stages that all of us should be looking at. This is just one of those situations where, unfortunately, people may need to look at it more quickly than they probably want to.
So that sense of cautious optimism, I guess, would take place here.
Absolutely.
So consider to work today, but plan for tomorrow.
And I think that's what we should all be doing anyway. Unfortunately, a lot of people really don't look at their life in their 40s, 50s, and early 60s and look at the future, unfortunately. And they wait too long to plan for everything, whether that's planning for not just financial parts, but who am I going to be? And I think, for me, it's been one of these situations where I'm reaching an age where I've had to look at some of these things. And it's a difficult situation, whether you're forced to take that step or it's a decision that you make on your own. But either way, it's something developmentally that everyone needs to face.
And I would imagine really brings into question your own sense of identity. Because for those, let's say, who've already taken early retirement and maybe it was not going to be their plan for the next 2, 3, 5 years, they had a title. They had a place in the community. People knew who they were and what they did, and now that title has changed. How would you suggest coping with or helping to discover a new sense of identity? Who am I outside of this job?
And that's really a difficult question and a great question because, yes, they've had a title. They were an engineer. They were this person. Whether it was at Caterpillar or any other company that faces a situation like this, first of all, it's about realizing that you still are that person. You may have put it in a box of, I was an engineer, I was a psychotherapist, but you still are the very same person. It's just that you've changed the name. It's like going from Miss to Mrs. or not. You're still the same person, but you perhaps need to find where you're going and if it will involve that same name. maybe you will go into something else that's engineering. Maybe you'll become, who knows, a photographer. I don't know. But the point is, you are still the very same person, and it's about looking at who you are as a person, not as a title, and to move forward with that. And I truthfully think of all the things that people are going to face, they're going to face a lot of basic needs. I mean, you're going to go down to, okay, what are we going to do about housing? What are we going to do about money? How are we going to redo our budget? People will figure that part out. And those are things they can manage. There's lots of things in the community that will help them with that. But I think the most difficult part of the coping will be this identity issue. It will be about, where do I go? Who am I as a person? And I think the most important thing that we can tell people is they are still the same great person with the same great talents, with the same abilities, that are still generous and warm and wonderful, and everything that they've been in the community is still there inside them. Now it's about, what do I want to do with this now? It's about, okay, I have many options available to me, and I have all these skills, I have all these tools, I have all these amazing talents. Which bucket do I want to put it in? And now it's my choice.
Because sometimes there really are opportunities in these obstacles that confront us, no matter what particular job we happen to be coming or going to or from.
Absolutely. And you say it perfectly, because there are opportunities, and it is hard to see them right now, because a lot of people are going through grief. They're going through the stages of grief.
I was going to ask about that. It's almost like saying goodbye or having that sort of death or transitional experience, especially for those who've been working for decades in the same positions.
Absolutely. And it would be absolutely normal in the stages of grief for everybody to go through some kind of bargaining, like, no, this can't happen to me, yes it can, I don't know, why did it happen to me, and then to go through the anger stage. And everyone is going to feel that, and everyone's going to feel probably the depression stage. But then it's about working through it, and the only way you're going to work through it is to go through all those little parts and to look at what's inside you and what you can bring, because in every loss situation, there is the opportunity for growth. And as you said, looking and finding the opportunity that's available.
So when you're looking for that opportunity that's available in this challenging situation, what practically can you do to sort of access that information? Because I would imagine the wall goes up and you just say, well, I don't know what I want to do next. I haven't given that any thought. But when you start to give it that thought, do you make a list? Do you go for walks and try to commune with nature? I mean, what are some of the strategies that people use to access those feelings that they haven't had to look for in so long?
Another really good question, because I don't know that most people can say, okay, today I'm an engineer, tomorrow I'm this. I think it's a transition. It's about writing down maybe, or looking at, what are the things that I think I'm good at? What are the things that I always wanted to do in my life and haven't done? And I've done quite a few talks on retirement in general, people that have a choice about retirement and the difficulties. And one of them is to really look at, okay, here's my skill set. What are the things that I always wanted to do, that I didn't have time to do, that I might want to do? What are things that I might want to explore? And it's kind of like putting them all out on the table, and then kind of just moving towards each of them to find something that looks interesting, or to try it on. I don't know very many people that are going to say, okay, I was an engineer, now I'm going to go do this. Now, it may be that people are in a situation where they have to move from a job to find another job. So they're moving from a place to a place, but that's about finances. That's about protecting where you are. It's not about who you are. And I think that's two completely different sides of the coin. And I think people have to look at, yes, I may need to go take a job to fill our basic needs, versus the person who says, okay, I have some security here, now I can look at what I might want to do, or, you know, in the community, or I might be able to look at things I've always wanted to do. I think those are completely different situations and they have to be handled differently.
Is volunteerism sometimes helpful? I've heard sometimes people say, well, you know, I'm going to give the thing that I don't have, and that is time and energy to complete a project for somebody else. I'm going to help a service organization or something to that effect.
And I think a lot of people have that ability to give so much to the community and to give back. And for many people, that is an excellent, excellent choice. For other people, it's about doing the things that they never have been able to do. Maybe it's spending more time with their family, and they just haven't had that. And now's the time that they can do that. For other people, it could be now's the time for me to do the things I've always wanted to do, to travel, to see the world. So I think each person is individual in that they really need to look at what they want in the rest of their life. And they may have 30 more years. How do they want to spend that time? What will give them meaning and what will give them purpose? And I think for a lot of people right now, it's about if this happens, how can I find meaning and purpose in my life?
Another facet of this situation is the community at large, because certainly there are the people who are affected wondering whether their jobs will be cut, whether they've already been laid off, whether they've accepted early retirement and they weren't prepared for that. But then there are the people that sell houses, the people that sell cars, the people that sell television sets, the social service agencies that rely on the Caterpillar workforce to be generous in times of giving. And we're approaching the holiday season. How does the community at large sort of wrap its collective head around this situation in wondering what's going to happen to me and my livelihood in the wake of what's happened to your livelihood?
Another great question. And I think that we all need to look at, and you're speaking directly as it speaks to Caterpillar. We've had situations similar in the past, and Peoria has made their way through those situations. I think Caterpillar is doing what it can for the community and will continue to do what it can for the community. Maybe not as great this year, next year, but maybe in 3 years. And I think everyone may have to just look at their budgets, look at their options, but keep people in the forefront and to do what they can. And I think we're all very aware of the situation, and I think anybody who was keeping their eyes open knew that this might be happening. Not that we wanted it to happen, but the signs have been there for a while. And I think we're all just going to really have to watch our dollars and cents very closely and maybe look for new venues to find money, whether it's in anybody's business or my own. We really need to be smart about our choices.
How can we help support people who are dealing with this in terms of our friends, coworkers? Maybe I still have my job and you worked beside me for the last 10 years and now you don't. Besides saying, gosh, I'm sorry that this happened to you, what types of things can we do to offer support for those in need?
Well, I think the most important thing that we can do is continue to reach out to those people. If I've sat next to somebody for 15 years and every day I've seen them, imagine how it feels that they don't see you, they don't talk to you, and they were your good friend, they were your best friend maybe. They need to still hear from you. And maybe it's that you just take a few minutes every day or every other day or send them a text or do whatever, but they need to know that they're still in your life, that that friendship was just not work-based, that it was a real relationship.
Life-based, yeah.
Yes. So I think it's about giving the love to those people and continuing. Maybe if they need some kind of assistance, then, whether it's helping them with just listening and hearing their feelings and to realize that everything that they're feeling is normal and everything that you're feeling, because if you've lost your friend next to you, you're going to feel some survivor's guilt. You're going to have your own issues of feeling uncomfortable because you got to keep your job and they didn't.
Oh.
And, everybody's being affected in different ways. But I think the most important thing that you can give is love, and to realize that these are friendships that are important, and to keep that connection with that person.
What are some of the signs that we can look for that people may need more support than they're willing to give? Because those who have been in positions of authority or an executive type of situation may not want anyone to know that they're feeling sad or angry or going through that bargaining process, may turn to a bottle, may turn to a pill. What are the signs that we can use to recognize that somebody needs more support than they're saying they do?
Well, many people will pull away from activities. And so instead of going to everything, they will say, oh, I can't go, I'm too busy, I'm this, I'm that. They'll have excuses. You might notice changes if you're around them and they're eating. They might be sleeping more. You might notice that they are drinking more or they're using more. You're going to see a definite change in their personality. And it's really important that you as a friend or a family member or as a spouse or a significant other addresses that. And to say, yes, this is all very perfect and normal, and I'd really like to talk to you about it. I'd like to know what you're feeling. I'd like to know, what your experience is, and then let's try and work through it together. Or let me just listen and see what you can do. But I think it's important that you really look at people and are willing to be honest enough to say, yeah, there's something going on here, and I want to share with you, and I'm here for you.
And let's say somebody is in need of therapy and maybe have never gone through that process before. Maybe this is one of the largest events of their life transitionally. What could they expect from the therapy process?
I think what they could probably expect is, first of all, a very accepting, loving, confidential place where they could just explore the things that we've been talking about. And just to have someone sit with them and to kind of walk them through this journey. Mm-hmm. But it's their journey, so it would be helping them really see their options, to see what's open, to see the opportunities. But most importantly, to have a place where it's safe to just say whatever, and to know that that person still will honor you and care for you, and that you will feel the compassion and the empathy to be able to move forward and to know that that person's on your side.
And I think that's really what it comes down to. You just want to know that somebody's on your side as you move through this transitional process.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about changing roles at home, because if somebody had a job that they went to every day, and let's say mom's been at home getting the kids off to school, and now dad's at home too. Sometimes that can be a learning experience in and of itself, because you are now involved in the processes that you weren't before. How do couples handle that when one has been at home and the other one has not, and now they're both at home and trying to find their way together? Because I've heard retirees say similar things. Oh my gosh, my spouse is now home every day and I was used to having the house to myself.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, this is a really difficult one, because those are roles that we've really established for a long time, mm-hmm. that we've been going to work maybe for 30 years, or we're suddenly home, and it could be that, your partner is off to work, and now for the first time you're home. What do you do? And does that mean you have to take over new roles? And I think for a lot of people, it's going back and renegotiating the relationship. Renegotiation is probably the key word here, and to look at, okay, we now have this on the table. How can we divide things up? What would make you feel good to do? What do you really not want to do? Let's renegotiate. But I think it's about really going back to the table, because the relationship has now changed. And so roles need to change, jobs need to change, emotions need to change. And I think there has to be a new understanding, and a lot of people really don't want to renegotiate And I think that's the key. It's about really finding a new you in a new place.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about experiences in my own life, if my husband's on vacation and I am not, and I'm used to having a certain rhythm and routine, and, you know, one of us makes the lunch a different way than the other, or one leaves a shoe over here and the other one doesn't, it can be really challenging to have those conversations openly and honestly, and with a backdrop of, I know you've been through this really hard transition. However, we still have to live here together.
And I think that many people are in a situation where their significant other will cover things for a while because the person who has just retired or been let go, they are going through a really emotional change for them. And I think in most relationships, people understand that. But you're right. Sandwiches may be made different. Bathrooms may be cleaned differently. And it's also about understanding that things are changing and there might be a new norm.
And sometimes that new norm is just dealing with the amount of time you have on your hands. If you've been used to going to work at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning and not getting home until 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, and now you have all day, what do I do with myself is a question that I get a lot.
And it's a really valid question because for most people, their day has been scheduled from morning till night. And they're not used to not overscheduling, not feeling that kind of surge. Because I think most of us that work at a fast pace, we get like this whole adrenaline thing built up, and it feels great and it feels good when you accomplish something. And then to have 7 hours or 8 hours of the day, it's like, oh, what do I do? That is really difficult, and it's really important that taking that time and to try and at least put meaningful, purposeful things into that day. Because that's what you had at work. You had a purpose, you had an agenda, you had things you needed to do. It's important that you do the same exact thing in your life now.
And maybe check some things off that honey-do list. I mean, we all have those projects that we sort of put on the back burner. I'm going to clean out the guest room, I'm going to clean out the garage.
But I really want to caution that this is time that you could also have for yourself. That I think that one of the struggles we're going to see is that people are going to say, okay, well now you're not working, so do this 50 things that were on the honey-do list. And so there's going to be this conflict now because the person who is retired is going to now have expectations placed on them that they should do all this other work. And it may be that this is also the time that they need to look at, okay, I can do 4 things out of these 8, but 4 I want to do for me. And I think it's important that people understand that whatever we call retirement or a change in life, it's not just about doing, it's also about becoming. So it's important that you work on you during this time and things that make you happy because something in you has been taken away. You've lost something, and you need to rediscover that. And you need to give yourself the time, not just keep busy.
So no matter where we are in this process, whether we are somebody who was laid off abruptly, whether we're somebody who took the early retirement package, whether or not we're still waiting to see if we're going to be one of the remaining 7,000 people affected around the world, stay in tune with who you are, plan for tomorrow, but still enjoy today.
Perfectly said. Couldn't do it better myself.
I heard it from somebody pretty special. Joy, thank you so much for your insights. It's been wonderful to speak to you as always. And we just appreciate you being there for this community because we know you do that so very much.
Thank you.
And one of the other things that we like to do here on Consider This is shine a spotlight on some of our featured artists in the area. Take a look at our featured artists of the week.
A friend of mine sold me a camera that he was getting rid of, and I picked it up and really didn't know what I was doing with it, which, everybody starts out there, but I'll admit it. And, you take it in to get developed, you get the prints back, and you want to kind of put the camera away after that, but you know, I kept going on with it, and then I talked myself into taking some classes, and my eye got better, and my technology got better. My own attention is probably drawn to my own creative ideas, trying to stay away from what somebody else shot. That's impossible to completely do that. But when you're shooting, like you're shooting 30 photos, and you have an idea to shoot this one photo visually in your mind, and then you're also thinking, this is I'm going to edit this an hour or two later, and that's when it all comes together in the editing process. I like to shoot more creative storytelling, something to do with storytelling. The more I've shot, the older I've gotten. That's where I'm headed right now. Money doesn't motivate me. It means to me more what I do internally with it, and some people are going to like it, and some people won't like what I'm seeing. I mean, nobody will 100% see what I see. They might see something else that they really like better, but my process is to get internally connected with myself to express myself. You have to really feel what you're doing to make it work the best, so others feel it when they look at your work. But you have to shoot for yourself. That's the first person you have to shoot for. And if other people like it, great. If not, don't let that discourage you. Keep on shooting for yourself. You have to express yourself, whatever you do in life, no matter it's photography or whatever. Just do what feels good for yourself.
Our thanks to our featured artists and to our guests on Consider This, Dr. Joy Miller of Joy Miller and Associates. And thank you for being with us on Consider This.